as promised, today I'll bring you the James Joyce's Ulysses study guide, because this bad boy is quite a chunk of a book, and if you ever have to study it, which most of you who study English literature probably will have to, it's good to have some tips. Now, I've been studying this for this semester. I'm currently writing an essay on it, so I do pride myself on saying that I know a bit about it, but of course I don't know everything. I think no one really knows everything about Ulysses, so if you have read it or are reading it now or studying it in some form or another, please leave your own tips and comments in the comments down below, obviously. So yeah, let's get started. First of all, you should really get an edition of Ulysses with explanations and notes in it, because there are tons of references, and there are historical and cultural, and there are some song references, and it's good to just have somewhere to look it up. I have the Oxford University Press edition from, I think it's 1922? The text version from 1922. Which is edited by Jerry Johnson with notes and explanations. It's quite good. There are some things that aren't explained. I guess there are like millions of copies of Ulysses. Just make sure it has explanations. And second of all, as you see here, these are the chapters. Ulysses has about 700 pages in this edition, so it is quite a lot, and the chapters aren't actually named, so it's just good to kind of mark the chapters, to divide this horrible big text to have little chunks you can read individually. You can divide them into the Odyssey chapters, because that's what it's based on, kind of, but we can also just put little note thingies in it. It just helps to kind of break the text down and make it seem not so scary. Just a little heads up, the first chapters are actually rather simple in their language, so it isn't that hard to understand, but later on, I think after Sirens, it gets really linguistically confusing, because they focus more on the language and the style than on the plot itself. So those chapters can get quite complicated and difficult. It always helps to read them a few times over, and it also helps to read the Spark Notes summaries before you read the chapters themselves, just to have a little overview of what's really happening. And whilst you're reading, keep in mind that Joyce wanted this to be complicated. He wanted this to be the genius masterpiece that no one really 100% gets, so don't be frustrated if you don't understand everything. Also with the references, there are like a million references in this, and I think there is no single person on this earth, probably not even James Joyce himself, who understands and gets and realizes every single reference. So just don't stress out. You don't have to understand everything. It doesn't even always help the plot. Sometimes it makes it even more difficult than it originally is. So don't stress out. You don't have to understand everything at the first read. You don't have to understand everything at the 20,000th read. I think my professor said this is like the 7th time he read it, and he still finds new things. So yeah, again, relax. Don't take it too seriously. James Joyce wanted it to be confusing. But whilst you're reading it, please also keep in mind that even though it is confusing and difficult and linguistically and stylistically really, really hardcore, it also is a really funny, interesting, really deep, and yeah, as I said, funny. It's really funny story. So if you do take the time to read it, and to read it like twice, it is really a good book. It is something I would recommend for everyone who has any interest in English literature to read, and to read closely. And of course, regarding literature to help you along, I think every literary scholar ever wrote a book on Ulysses. And apparently they also all wrote it together, because to be honest, they all kind of say the same. So don't try to read everything there is on James Joyce's Ulysses. It helps to have one reader's guide whilst you're reading it, just to kind of help you along. So in my course we use the Reader's Guide to James Joyce and Ulysses by Levine, which I thought was really good because it had kind of a simple language and it made it really easy to understand what's going on. There are also the Cambridge Companion to Ulysses and the Cambridge Companion to James Joyce. Then Joyce's Ulysses and the Assault Upon Characters, which is quite interesting because it discusses all characters chapter by chapter kind of, with the certain themes that are important for those characters in those chapters. Then some interesting essay collections. I think Bloomsday 100 was the one that I found most interesting because it discusses general and specific themes. These books will of course all be in the description down below, as well as the link to my Oxford University Press edition of the book. So I hope this helps a bit. It's just the general stuff I noticed while studying this book. And as I said, if you have any tips yourself, please leave them in the comments down below. As I said, it is a really good book and I really want everyone to be able to read it because it's just so interesting. But yeah, I hope this helped a bit and I hope you always have a reason to smile and I shall see you next week. Goodbye!